How you show up, it's about your energy, your authenticity, your essence. So the more that you tap into the essence and who you are, you're going to show up more fully, take up more space, be more confident, and attract the opportunities that are right for you. That's what happened to me. Hello and welcome to Empowermente. Wherever you're listening this to, ¿cómo se dice?
Where are you listening from?
Wherever you're listening from. That's how you say it? Okay. Wherever you're listening from, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time. I hope that this podcast fulfills my goal of giving you inspiration, motivation, and tangible tips that are going to help you in your everyday life and overall just create a better perspective and experience for you. If you are enjoying this podcast, please don't forget to rate it 5 stars wherever you're listening to it from. And I am so excited for today's topic. So as I had mentioned before, every few weeks I'm going to be releasing a free guide because it's been something that I wanted to do for a long time. Have a bunch of free resources created by me and my experiences. And as I grow and continue to learn, these will change. That's the essence of my brand and what I do. I learn more and I teach different things depending on where I am in my life. And the topic that I want to share to you today that is in relationship to the free guide that I'm releasing is Become Influential, a guide to building executive presence and advocating for yourself. This has to do with taking up space and feeling more confident. I'm super excited to dive into this topic with you today. First, I want to share a little bit of a disclaimer in a way. So today I had a deep introspection session with my own coach, which if you don't know, she's a huge reason why I got into this world of coaching. I realized that what I am trying to teach is not just about like the physical words that you're saying and how you show up, because how you show up is much more than that. How you show up, it's about your energy, your authenticity, your essence. So the more that you tap into the essence and who you are, you're going to show up more fully, take up more space, be more confident, and attract the opportunities that are right for you. That's what happened to me. I just kind of realized that every single experience, and I have known this, but it was just such a strong feeling that every single thing that I've lived led me to where I am today. And I'm very happy in what I do in my life. And I feel very fulfilled and very aligned. And I want that for every single one of you. And that is connected to executive presence and confidence and becoming influential, because when your energy is so aligned and so magnetic, you're going to attract all the opportunities and be aligned in your life. It's just, I don't make the rules. It's like kind of a button that you press and the universe just kind of changes everything for you. That's what happened to me. My whole life turned upside down last year. And why am I sharing things about taking up space, building confidence, and executive presence? Why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this because if you have executive presence, if you have that influential essence, you're going to be able to create change. And that's ultimately what I want. I want people of color, I want Latinas to have a voice that matters, have a voice of power, a voice that can influence good change and build a society like one that we dream of. So that's why I'm passionate about this, and that's why I want to teach this. Let me tell you a little bit about the background of how I heard about executive presence and how it has shaped my journey and why I am a person of credibility to share this with you right now. I first heard about executive presence when I worked at Microsoft. I was fresh new out of college and my role was a technical account manager. A technical account manager is in the sales department and your job is to talk to executives of different companies to manage their services agreement with Microsoft. My job as an early 20s girl was to talk to people in their 50s and 60s, mostly white men, and try to convince them that I knew more about technology and that I had the answers to solve their business problems. This was a very, very fun experience. And Of course, I brought a unique perspective, and I do think I had a lot of value to add, but a big part of it was to build that trust with them, which was built through executive presence. And let me give you the definition of what executive presence is if you don't know. Executive presence is about how you are perceived as a leader in any room. Your body language, your voice, and energy align to command respect, inspire trust, and influence outcomes. So we love that, right? And so I had a training by Microsoft about executive presence several days. And also they really encouraged us to take a training on LinkedIn. So you can look up executive presence training on LinkedIn and you're probably going to pop up with the one that I did. All LinkedIn trainings are really good. So please, if you want to learn more about it, please do so. This is how I was first introduced to this topic by Microsoft. But, I don't think it's applicable just to the workplace. As I mentioned, how you show up is going to affect the opportunities that you get and ultimately the life that you live. A different perspective of influence for my side is that I am a public speaker and content creator. As a public speaker, I had my first official talk in 2019, which was about empowering women in STEM and leadership, which talked about how if we change the perspective of what STEM education and STEM careers are, we could get more women in the field, which will ultimately lead to more innovation and more beautiful things to happen in the world. As a public speaker, your executive presence is so important because you as a speaker have a goal to either inspire, motivate, usually a call to action from your talks. And through the years, I've learned to polish this skill and apply it to other areas of my life. As a content creator who has over, I think, 95,000 followers right now, who doesn't have the best engagement at all times, who doesn't have the most followers or is a huge macro influencer, I still get invited to highly important spaces because I have executive presence and I have influence. And it has less to do with the number of followers that I have, less to do with my engagement, and more about how I show up and my voice. And that's exceptional because for example, for this last presidential election, I was invited to be part of the Kamala Walz campaign, which was such a fun experience. I got to meet Eva Longoria, Jessica Alba, America Ferrera. And again, I'm not a huge influencer, but they saw that I have an influential voice and that I'm able to have that connection with my audience. And that's a little bit about my background and how and what perspective I have walking into this conversation. And to put this into perspective, let me tell you how executive presence created a difference in my career. So as I mentioned, I was a technical account manager at Microsoft, and my job was to talk to executives. One of the clients that I had was a well-known movie theater, and this was 2020, right before the pandemic, and they were already worried about their business. The first meeting that I had with them was a very challenging one because the CTO of the company ended up pretty much like not yelling at me, but basically saying that why did I have to go there, that he didn't want to talk to me, and he literally stormed off. I had really good executive presence, and instead of taking it personal and leaving, and although I did feel a lot in that moment, I decided to stay and talk to other people who worked with this person. And I just showed up confidently, fully, and really calm. And I started talking to, I believe it was the VP of IT. And he started telling me how the CTO had a bad history of working with Microsoft and how every single thing that they had done had led to something negative and that they were not happy with Microsoft services. And so I stood there and listened for an hour about all the things that he had to say. And I basically let him know that I was really sorry that they had experienced that, but that was not the case with me. I was a new person entering their account and their company, and I was there to help serve them and ultimately create a solution that was going to help their business, especially in this hard time. And granted, I think this was right before the pandemic. And so what having executive presence did was create a relationship of trust with the VP. And also, since we were so calmly talking about this, I kind of won the VP over, and he's like, hey, I kind of like you. And The CTO ended up coming back and we had a 1 hour meeting conversation about their business goals and how Microsoft could help. Fast forward, this company not only ended up renewing their contract with Microsoft, but they also expanded and grew their Microsoft contract even in the face of COVID-19. This was one of my biggest wins as a technical account manager, and it was just to show what executive presence can do. And you may be thinking, Gina, how is that executive presence? What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with confidence or taking up space? Executive presence is also having the poise and grace that you deserve respect, that you embody something good, and that you are capable and you are a person that is not going to be shooken by things like that. This is a perfect segue into my first tip. Today, I'm going to be sharing 7 executive presence tips that are going to help you show up better in the world, be more confident, and attract the opportunities that you want to attract. The first tip to be influential and have executive presence is regulating your nervous system. Oh my gosh, what does that have to do with anything? If you are stressed out and anxious and you show up that way in the world, how do you think other people are going to feel when they're near you? Do you think they're going to be calm and enticed to open up and be vulnerable or open up and wish you a good day? Of course not. They're going to be stressed and anxious with you. So part of executive presence is regulating your nervous system and show up in a calmly way. And this is very hard to do, y'all. I'm not saying it's easy, especially in moments that matter, like important meetings, when you're pitching yourself, when you're advocating for yourself for a promotion, when you're asking a question in a panel, when you're giving a talk. It is not easy. But I'm going to give you a few tips to help you regulate your nervous system. You ever feel like no matter how much you do, you're still not showing up as confident as you want to be? Like you're working hard, but you're not seeing the impact that you're capable of doing? So many ambitious women feel this way. They're trying to do so many things, juggling a million responsibilities, while still struggling with feeling self-doubt, overwhelmed, and sometimes burnt out. The secret is not about doing more, but showing up in a way that simplifies things. Showing up in a way that commands respect, builds trust, and inspires confidence in others. This is exactly why I created my one-on-one private coaching program, to help women like you develop executive presence, to get you in the rooms that you need to be in, to take bold action and pursue your dreams. This isn't just about the societal success. It's about showing up authentically in every aspect of your life. Over the next 4 months, we'll work together to clarify your vision and align with your values, build your executive presence so you can lead with power and confidence, reprogram limiting beliefs, and embrace a growth mindset, also called an abundant mindset. Strategize your next big move, whether it's moving up in your career, transferring to another discipline, or starting your own business or side hustle. I'll be there to support you every step of the way with support and real-time feedback. If you're ready to stop second-guessing yourself and step into your power, let's talk. I have a few spots left to do one-on-one coaching, so book your free discovery call today where we're going to discuss your goals and see if we're a good fit to work together. The link is in the show notes. Let's unlock your confidence so you can build the life of your dreams. So in order to regulate your nervous system, you're gonna take a breath that has a longer exhale than an inhale. So you're gonna breathe in for 4 seconds and exhale for 8. In for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Out for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Woo! I feel way more relaxed already. By the way, if you're enjoying these tips, make sure that you download your free guide on how to become influential in the show notes. The second way to regulate your nervous system is doing power poses. If you haven't watched Amy Cuddy's TED Talk about this, you need to go and watch it. But basically, power poses are poses that demand respect and attention. They demand power, really. They are superhero poses. Picture Wonder Woman. How would she stand? The trick is that before you have a big meeting, you have to do power poses for about 2 minutes. And before every meeting that I had with my client that was a movie theater, I would do power poses in the restroom. And I still do this pretty much before every talk that I have. The third way to regulate your nervous system is to practice whatever you're gonna do. If you're gonna give a presentation, if you're gonna advocate yourself, even if it's just to have a hard conversation with a friend, literally practice it. Repetition is gonna help you get confidence and fluency in whatever you're doing. The times that I've had to record my podcast multiple times are the best podcasts in terms of performance of how I sound, because by saying it over and over again, I just sound so much better because I find new ways to communicate more clearly and more impactfully. And the last way to regulate your nervous system is to create an alter ego. So if you're a fan of Beyonce, you're probably heard of Sasha. Sasha is Beyonce's alter ego. And what does this mean? It's basically channeling a version of yourself or channeling someone that you think is super confident and it's their highest self, and you channel their energy when you're doing something. I think Beyonce's alter ego is called Sasha Fierce. And I do this for other things as well. When I am trying to do something that I feel a little bit nervous about, I try to think about the person that's best at it, and I channel their energy. And somebody like literally told me on LinkedIn the other day that they channeled me for a talk that they did. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the best compliment. And I encourage you to channel other people or channel an alter ego when you're a little bit nervous about something that you're about to do that's a little bit out of your comfort zone. Okay, so that was segment number 1. Segment number 2 is mastering your body language and voice. I'm going to talk about 2 things specifically, body language and vocal techniques. And these are a lot more tangible than the previous time. So in talking about body language, one time, y'all, I got so triggered because I've always struggled with the confidence in my height. So if you don't know, I'm a 5'10" woman, which is very tall for a Latina woman as well. And, growing up, I was always the tallest. And for some reason, that was an insecurity for me. And I kind of learned to hunch when other people are shorter, kind of in a way, dim myself a bit so that other people feel comfortable in pictures or in different settings. And, it's a very bad habit that I had. I don't think it's as bad anymore. But during a convention that I went to, it was 2 years ago, I had a panel. And this was before I did speaking more often. I was still building my portfolio, which I still am, right? But this was earlier in my journey. And after the talk, there's this man that went up to me, and I love this man. And I admire this man because he's a coach and he's a speaker, and he really works on empowering the Latino community. So it's at that time and still now, I admired him deeply. And I was like, I want to be like you, basically. And he went and talked to me and he said, Gina, I see something in you. I think you're doing amazing. I think when you speak, you have an ability to captivate an audience, and there's something really big in you that I cannot wait to see what you do with it. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I'm a huge fan, and I was so happy. And then he was like, I do have some feedback for you, though. You should fix your posture. You should sit up straight when you're speaking. And I was like, and I automatically went into defensive mode. And I was like, well, it's because the chair was so uncomfortable and I'm really tall and all these things. And he's like, just take my feedback. And I felt even more powerless because I was trying my best. This was a person that I admired. And the reason why I went to defense mode was because my dad growing up constantly told me to fix my posture, and he would talk about it in such a weird way. He would be like, the one thing I cannot fix for my daughter is fixing her posture. It was almost like I was in his ownership in a way. It's hard to explain, but it was something that was deeply ingrained in me. So as a rebellion, I kind of hunched on purpose and saying you cannot control me, And so when this person told me, you need to fix your posture, I was like, fuck, something that I struggled with from when I was a kid is still haunting me. Who used this as a strategy to make me feel a little bit weird was still in me somehow, so I hated it. But it is so important. If you are 5 feet, or if you're 5'10", or if you're 6'5", you need to stand straight. It's a physical part of taking up space. If you have a good posture, you're gonna command your audience. You're gonna command respect. The last thing that I want to cover for today's episode, and keep in mind that there's going to be a part 2. And by the way, if you're enjoying these tips, make sure that you download your free guide on how to become influential in the show notes. So the last thing I want to talk about is voice technique. The tone in which you speak is going to influence how you sound, obviously, but how other people perceive what you're saying. So a big common mistake for women is that they end their sentences that are, in fact, facts and statements as question marks. Many times we do this to sound a little bit less intimidating, to sound more digestible, but I want us to practice finishing in a statement. Practice ending sentences with confidence and not like you're asking for permission, please. So instead of saying, when you know something is a fact, instead of saying the shoe is black, say the shoe is black. Ooh, power. Obviously, you want to I'm saying this in more important situations. In many situations, we sound like we're asking for permission instead of just saying what we feel. And I promise you, less people than you think are going to be offended. To summarize everything, here are my tips. Regulate your nervous system, which is going to be done with power poses, deep breathing, practicing out loud, and creating an alter ego. 2, master your body language and voice. Match your body language to the type of presence that you want to emanate. And make sure that you are speaking in the tone that you actually wish to be speaking in. So regulate your nervous system, practice power poses, focus on body language, and refine your tone and voice. Just a reminder that influence, executive presence, and confidence is not built overnight. It's a process. But small, consistent steps make a huge difference. Practice these techniques and let me know how it goes. DM me. I want to see your progress. I want to see you win. Let me know your thoughts on social media. Feel free to DM me. And please don't forget to download your free guide. That is it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you liked your tips and be ready for next week for part 2. Los quiero mucho y que tengan una bonita semana.